Ladies and gentlemen, today is an interesting object lesson in how easy it is to fake social proof, scam people, and project an image of success. All the while, the reality is completely different. You're almost like Thanos. Reality is whatever you want it to be, right? Today, we're looking at a wannabe Bernie Madoff, a Mr. Dr. Terence Cash. Now, first of all, what a name. How did these people come up with it? Derek Moneyberg, Wesley Billion Dollar Virgin, Dan the Trillion Dollar Man Pena, and Dr. Terence Cash. They all go in the pantheon of great business coach, wealth coach, financial coach names. They're all going to help you. And look, let's see what he's doing before we get into how it all fell apart, all the crazy stuff now going on in the press. Let's get into who this guy was. Like, let's say you didn't, you're looking at him a few months ago. What do you see? Before Coffeezilla makes a video about him, before all this stuff happens, right? Before it all comes crumbling down. This is basically what you get on his page. It just projects success, right? He's on a magazine, it looks like, right over here. And, it's like transforming your wealth. And he's a wealth coach, but his name is Doctor. Oh, that kind of sounds credible, right? He's got a little video for us. Let's see that. Everyday people struggle, but they have no plan. They don't know the money rules used by the wealthy. Oh, but lucky for you, Dr. Terence Cash is willing to help you out of the kindness of his heart.
I'm not hiking through the Himalayas without a guide. I'm simply not doing it. If you want to do it, send me some peaches.
I guess he's saying you need a coach or something like that. Okay, whatever. He's got a wealth creation course, this kind of thing. And most importantly, something I want to draw your attention to, he's got the Strategic Diversified Investment Chairman's Fund, okay? Provides you with passive income. Later on, he would say that this is 12% a year guaranteed. That's why he's a wannabe Madoff, because that's what Bernie Madoff was famous for. Offering somewhat reasonable returns that were just high, like 10% a year. It's not too much, but it was consistent, right? And so that's what Madoff did. It's exactly what this guy did too. But the big takeaway here is that Dr. Cash, okay, had every trapping of success. He was going to events. He even raised $4 million for his chairman's fund, right? Where he's supposedly taking on investors and paying them out 12%. Everything seems to be going great. In fact, he's got a whole sob story about how he used to be broke, but now he's rich thanks to the rich people who shared their secrets with him that he's willing to share with you now for a fee.
16 years later, that once failing business was now producing over $30 million in annual revenues.
You heard it right, guys. Dr. Terence Cash has a $30 million a year business.
Ultimately, after considering a 9-figure IPO, he enjoyed a private sale of the business for 8 figures.
So he's super wealthy, all this stuff. You get the idea. So, why do I hear sirens? It's pretty simple. Because everything you just heard is all a fabrication. See, all his, chairman's fund, all that stuff, it's all a gigantic fraud. In fact, Dr. Cash was just arrested for securities fraud from all his investors. So let's take a peek inside this complaint letter from the SEC and DOJ. It gets spicy. Now, the first thing to note is that Dr. Cash, shockingly, is not his real name. His real name is Terrence Chalk, which I'll admit is a little less inspired than Dr. Terence Cash. But the reason that he changed his name is very interesting. You'll be interested to know. See, Terence Chalk, he's a convicted felon. You'd never know that by searching Dr. Terence Cash. It doesn't come up. That's why he changed his name, is so that he wouldn't come up that he's a convicted felon. Why is he a convicted felon? Well, back in the 2000s, Terence was arrested for identity theft and conspiring to make false statements to financial institutions. Apparently, he applied for loans using the identifiers of a dead relative. This is Dr. Terence Cash for you, okay? He also apparently submitted fraudulent documents to a BMW car dealership in order to secure BMW vehicles for associates of his. He was imprisoned for 76 months before getting out and then claiming that he's some successful entrepreneur. See, he calls himself the nation's #1 business, money, and wealth coach, which is kind of hilarious because he just got out of prison for financial fraud. And he's trying to teach you about money. Remember that. He has whole speeches about how the difference between you and the rich is your relationship with money, guys.
You see, the difference between many of us and the rich, affluent, and wealthy is that the rich have a much more enlightened and expansive mindset.
Oh, yes, guys. He's got an enlightened and expansive mindset of money. See, once you get your enlightened mindset, you realize that scamming people is a good way to make money. Once you get enlightened, like Terrence Cash, you realize, hey, maybe I'll just forge some docs, maybe get some cars with dead relatives, change my name, then create a chairman's fund. Literally, what's so insane about this is that nearly everything that was publicly available online never would have suggested that everything he said, the diametrically opposite thing, was true. For example, he said he sold his business for a ton of money. But we find in the SEC complaint that that is not true. He was a convicted felon and his previous businesses had suffered financial difficulties. And until his arrest, Chalk repeatedly attempted to prop them up through fraud. He calls himself a doctor, Dr. Cash. But of course, that is not true. He never received a doctoral degree from any accredited institution. Now, Dr. Cash would deny that. He would say he got a doctor of philosophy from CICA, International University and Seminary, with a concentration in business psychology. There's only one problem with that, though. I went to CICA, and they don't offer any degrees in business psychology. They offer a bachelor in theology, master's in theology, doctor of philosophy in theology. Nothing about business. Isn't that interesting? This stuff is completely insane. So, yeah, he claims to be successful. He's not successful. He didn't have a successful computer company. It was floundering. He claims to be a doctor. He's not a doctor. He claims to be this retired guy. Instead, he went to prison. He claims to have this great mindset on money, but apparently, yeah, again, convicted for financial fraud. And then also, he claims you're going to make 12%, and instead, he's not even investing most of that money. Apparently, most of it was used to make a combination of personal and business expenses, approximately $1.7 million to pay bills for personal credit cards, which is just, for a guy who's preaching financial literacy, you're spending a lot of money. This is the guy who's always citing financial imprudence in all his lectures, citing like how basketball players have a bad mindset with money. How can you tell? It's because they're constantly spending too much money and going broke after making so much money. That's his evidence that people have a bad mindset of money.
The average NBA basketball player makes about $6.4 million per year. Over 70% of all NBA basketball players will be broke.
But you're the guy who's spending $1.7 million on personal credit cards. So, moral of the story, don't trust anybody with the name of Cash. Doctor, if you can't find where they got their doctorate degree. Don't trust anybody named $1 million, $billion, $1 trillion man. I mean, it's just, I don't know. This stuff is pretty obvious, but it's worth repeating, guys. Stay safe out there. It's the era of COVID. The scammers are running amok. And luckily, some of them are going to be going down. And when they go down, Coffeezilla will be here to celebrate the conviction of just one more scammer, sweeping them off the street, one fraudster at a time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
And don't forget to smash like and subscribe. Thank you.